Introduction. Friends, if you're ready to experience an unforgettable cinematic journey packed with emotion, betrayal, revenge, and redemption, then The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, is the movie you absolutely must watch. This film isn't just a retelling of a classic story. It's a bold, breathtaking reimagining of Alexandre Dumas' legendary novel, brought to life with cutting-edge filmmaking and performances that will leave you speechless. And if this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because we bring you the most exciting updates, deep dives, and breakdowns of the hottest movies and series out there. In today's video, we're going to take you on a full ride through The Count of Monte Cristo 2024. We'll explore what this movie is all about, why it's being praised by audiences and critics alike, and what makes it stand out in the world of period dramas and literary adaptations. From the big questions like, where can you watch it? To the finer details of what went on behind the scenes, we've got it all covered for you. Whether it's releasing on a popular OTT platform or making its debut on a major satellite channel, you'll know exactly where to catch this epic tale in all its glory. We'll dig deep into the production process, starting with pre-production, where the vision of the film was shaped and the casting decisions were made. Then we'll talk about the filming process, which took place in some of the most breathtaking and atmospheric locations that capture the essence of 19th century Europe. From grand castles and dark prisons to glittering ballrooms and hidden coves, every frame has been designed to immerse you in the world of Edmond Dantes. The post-production process is just as exciting. Sound design, editing, visual effects, and color grading all combine to polish this film into a visual masterpiece. You'll hear about the creative minds behind the camera and how their collaboration turned a literary legend into a cinematic triumph. We'll also break down the budget, how much was spent to make this film look and feel authentic, and what kind of returns it's getting at the box office. Is it breaking records? Is it making waves internationally? You'll get the full scoop on how this film is performing financially and critically. Now let's talk about the story. Without giving away any major spoilers, I'll walk you through the powerful plot that follows Edmond Dantes, a young man whose life is shattered by betrayal. We'll explore how his unjust imprisonment leads him on a dark journey of transformation, from an innocent sailor into the mysterious, wealthy, and cunning Count of Monte Cristo. We'll look at how the story blends emotional depth with intense action and dramatic twists. This version of the film respects the original novel, but adds a cinematic edge that keeps you glued to the screen from start to finish. Of course, no movie is complete without its cast, and The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, delivers on that front too. We'll introduce you to the main stars of the film, tell you who's playing which iconic role, and talk about how each actor brings their character to life. We'll dive into the performances, who stood out, which roles were the most challenging, and how the chemistry between characters enhances the emotional impact of the story. Whether it's the heartbreak of betrayal, the thrill of revenge, or the quiet moments of reflection, the performances in this film hit all the right notes. And if you're someone who loves behind-the-scenes trivia, don't worry. We've got you covered there too. From hidden Easter eggs and visual symbolism to filming challenges and interesting facts about costume design, set construction, or historical accuracy, we'll share all the fascinating tidbits that add even more depth to your viewing experience. So friends, stay with us until the end of this video because there's so much to uncover about The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024. Whether you're a fan of epic dramas, love powerful character arcs, or just want to watch a beautifully made movie with an incredible story, this film checks every box. Get ready to be amazed, inspired, and emotionally moved. Let's get started and dive into this grand tale of justice, destiny, and the ultimate revenge. Let the journey begin. The story of The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, is built like an elegant trap, slowly and methodically tightening until its final, devastating snap. It's not just a linear retelling of a man wronged and his thirst for vengeance. It's a dramatic transformation that bleeds with emotion, philosophical tension, and richly textured shifts in tone and structure. The film doesn't simply guide you from point A to point B. Instead, it pulls you through memory, rage, sorrow, and rebirth with the force of a hurricane cloaked in velvet. It all begins with Edmond Dantes, a young man at the cusp of everything he's ever dreamed of. He's a sailor, brave and noble, trusted by his crew, and head over heels in love with the beautiful Mercedes. His future gleams with promise. A captaincy, a marriage, and a life of honor. The camera captures this early stretch with warmth and light. The sea is calm, the music airy, and Edmund's smile wide. But from the moment jealousy enters the picture, the film's tone begins to shift. Danglars envies Edmund's professional rise. Fernand desires Mercedes. Villefort, afraid of his own family secrets being exposed, sees Edmund as a threat. Their alliance is forged in whispers and cowardice, and their betrayal strikes like a knife in the back. Edmund is arrested without warning, thrown into a dungeon without trial, and forgotten by the world he once trusted. Now the structure fractures. The prison years are more than a narrative detour. They're a psychological labyrinth. Time in the Chateau d'If doesn't move in a straight line. The film captures Edmund's descent into despair with clever editing that disorients and traps the viewer just as Edmund himself is trapped. Days blur into months, and then into years. The screen darkens. Silence stretches. Hope vanishes. But in the darkness, a spark ignites. Edmund meets Abbé Faria, an aging prisoner who becomes his mentor, his teacher, his lifeline. Their scenes are some of the most profound in the film, where the pace slows down to let philosophy breathe. They discuss history, language, war, religion, and revenge. These aren't just conversations. They're the chisel that begins to shape Edmund into something new. When Faria dies and reveals the secret of the treasure buried on the island of Monte Cristo, the tone shifts again. What follows is a rebirth. Edmund escapes, quite literally emerging from the grave. He is no longer the boy who went into that cell. Now, he's the Count, a ghost, a myth, a man with power, knowledge, and a plan. This is where the film truly becomes a psychological game of strategy and retribution. The plot reshapes itself into an elaborate revenge drama. But it's not fast or flashy. The Count doesn't strike immediately. He weaves his web, infiltrating high society, planting seeds of doubt, exposing corruption, and manipulating events like a chess grandmaster. Every move is precise, every conversation laced with hidden meaning. The brilliance of the narrative lies in its restraint. You expect blood. You expect chaos. But the Count's revenge is as elegant as it is cruel. He doesn't just destroy reputations. He shatters identities. He doesn't just punish his enemies. He unravels them from the inside. And the more effective his vengeance becomes, the more we see his internal conflict growing. This isn't a hero anymore. This is a man transformed by pain and justice so completely that we begin to wonder if he's crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. The film plays with this tension masterfully, showing us a man trying to reclaim his own soul while simultaneously stealing the souls of others. The emotional stakes rise with every encounter. His reunion with Mercedes is particularly powerful. She's older, wiser, and carries her own scars. There's longing, sorrow, and anger in their scenes. Love turned into something quiet and painful. The film doesn't shy away from the emotional complexity. It lets their silence speak. And then there are the innocent lives caught in the storm. Young Albert, Haiti, and others Edmund never meant to hurt. Their pain becomes the mirror in which the Count must see himself. Has he become the villain? Is there still something inside him that can be saved? As the story hurtles toward its final chapters, everything becomes more urgent. His enemies fall one by one, and yet victory doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like exhaustion. Each act of revenge leaves Edmund emptier, more haunted. The climactic moments don't rely on spectacle. They rely on emotional weight. The final confrontations are quieter, heavier. You feel the cost of everything that's happened. The film refuses to end in easy satisfaction. There's no clean closure. Instead, we're left with questions about justice, about identity, about whether a man can truly be reborn after being broken. And then, just when the story seems to fold in on itself, there's a final note of grace. A small gesture, a quiet choice, a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, Edmund can still find peace. Not in revenge, but in letting go of it. That's the genius of this narrative. It gives you the fire of vengeance, but sneaks in a whisper of forgiveness. This version of the Count of Monte Cristo doesn't just retell the story. It rebuilds it from the ground up with modern cinematic intelligence and emotional depth. It honors the spirit of the original, while reinterpreting its structure to be more than just a tale of retribution. It's an odyssey of transformation told through fractured time, layered perspectives, and the tension between rage and redemption. You don't just follow the story. You feel every twist of the knife, every beat of the heart, every echo of the prison walls. It's not just a journey from beginning to end. It's a descent, an ascent, and everything in between. The character development in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, doesn't just drive the story, it is the story. This is a tale built on transformation, on what time, betrayal, and obsession can do to the human soul. Every major character is a portrait of change, unraveling before our eyes in slow, aching detail. What makes it so rich is that no one is static. Every choice they make reshapes not only their destiny, but the emotional architecture of the film itself. At the center stands Edmond Dantes, and his transformation is nothing short of mythic. We meet him as a young man with a heart wide open, loyal to his friends, respectful of authority, deeply in love, and bursting with hope. He's not ambitious for power or wealth. His dreams are modest. A ship to command, a home to share with Mercedes, and the admiration of his peers. That pure-hearted optimism is what makes his fall so devastating. When he's falsely accused and thrown into the Chateau d'If, the betrayal breaks something deep inside him. Not just his trust, but his entire worldview. The Edmund who entered the prison was a boy. The one who leaves it is a ghost of that boy, forged in stone and salt water and solitude. His rebirth as the Count is not just a change of name. It's a philosophical shift. He sheds everything that once made him human, compassion, trust, vulnerability, and becomes an instrument of precise, cold vengeance. But the genius of this character is that no matter how far he drifts into this persona, the embers of Edmond Dantes remain smoldering underneath. The tension throughout the film is not just whether he'll succeed in his revenge, but whether he'll remember the man he used to be before it consumes him entirely. Mercedes, often reduced in earlier adaptations to a tragic love interest, is given far more depth and agency here. She isn't just waiting, wilting, or weeping. She's surviving. Her decision to marry Fernand after Edmund's disappearance isn't born of betrayal, but of necessity. Her emotional arc is built on endurance. The strength of her character isn't in bold declarations, it's in quiet dignity. When she sees the Count again after years apart, she doesn't crumble. She doesn't beg for forgiveness or explain herself. She stands in front of the man she once loved and sees what he's become. Their scenes together are like emotional chess matches. Layers of pain, guilt, and unspoken longing packed into every glance and pause. Her arc isn't about rekindling old love. It's about closure, resilience, and in a subtle way, redemption on her own terms. Fernand Mondego's descent is that of a man who got everything he ever wanted, fame, fortune, social status, and yet remains hollow at his core. His betrayal of Edmund wasn't out of necessity, but greed and envy. The way he carries himself after Edmund's downfall, draped in luxury and pretending at nobility, is a mask barely hiding his rot. What makes his arc so satisfying is that his downfall isn't just revenge, it's exposure. He is unmade not by swords or bullets, but by truth. As the Count peels back the layers of his carefully constructed life, Fernand's pride crumbles, revealing the desperate, bitter man underneath. His final scenes aren't dramatic in a theatrical sense. They're tragic because they show us a man who built his entire life on someone else's ruin and has no idea how to live without that illusion. Abbe Faria, though present only for a portion of the film, leaves a seismic impact on the narrative. More than a mentor, he's the moral and intellectual architect of the Count. Their relationship is intimate in its intensity. Two souls locked in darkness, building a light together. Faria educates Edmund in languages, science, politics, strategy. But more importantly, he teaches him how to channel his pain into purpose. He's the one who first plants the seed of revenge, but also the one who warns of its cost. Faria's death is not just a plot point, it's a catalyst. It seals Edmund's transformation and launches him into the world reborn. And yet, it's also a fracture in his conscience. The Count may forget Faria's warnings at first, but they haunt him with growing intensity as his revenge unfolds. Danglars and Villefort offer different shades of villainy. Danglars is ruled by greed. He's not a mastermind. He's a coward in pursuit of power and luxury. His arc is one of gradual unraveling. As the Count manipulates the market, exposes his corruption, and turns public perception against him, Danglars spirals. His fall isn't glorious, it's humiliating. Villefort, by contrast, is all about control. He's intelligent, cunning, and ruthless, but he's also a hypocrite. He hides behind the mask of justice while burying personal secrets that would destroy his career. What makes Villefort's arc so compelling is how he watches the world he built. His family, his name, his reputation collapse from within. He's the most self-righteous of the betrayers, and therefore his fall is the most poetically devastating. The Count doesn't have to destroy him. His own actions do the job. Characters like Haydée, Jacopo, and Albert bring a secondary layer of depth to the story. Haydée, a former princess whose life was ruined by Fernand, carries the quiet strength of someone who has survived unthinkable cruelty. She becomes a mirror for Edmund, a reminder of the justice he once sought, rather than blind revenge. She doesn't push him. She simply is, and that's enough to awaken something in him. Jacopo, the loyal smuggler, is a rare thread of true friendship. His unwavering loyalty to Edmund, regardless of whether he's poor or rich, sailor or count, grounds the film in rare moments of warmth and human connection. And Albert, Fernand and Mercedes' son, brings emotional complexity into the Count's plan. He represents a new generation, untouched by his father's crimes, and challenges Edmund's black-and-white view of justice. Their interaction becomes a turning point, one that forces the Count to ask himself whether vengeance passed down is truly justice, or just another kind of cruelty. What ties all these characters together is that none of them remain the same by the end of the film. Every relationship evolves, every dynamic shifts, every character walks through fire. Some come out changed, some come out destroyed. The arcs aren't just there to serve the plot. They are the emotional lifeblood of the story. Each transformation isn't just dramatic, it's philosophical. This is a film about what suffering reveals, what power corrupts, what love endures, and what revenge costs. And in the end, whether they rise or fall, each character in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, is a testament to the idea that no one escapes time unchanged. The performances in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, are the kind that don't just carry the narrative, They elevate it into something deeper, something richer, something that feels completely lived in. This isn't a film where actors merely recite lines or move through emotional beats. This is a film where performances become the emotional spine of the story. Every glance carries history. Every silence drips with regret. Every confrontation simmers with unspoken rage. The cast isn't just good. They're in absolute sync with the world they inhabit, grounding this sweeping tale of betrayal and revenge in raw, layered human experience. Edmond Dantes is portrayed with a level of nuance that transforms the entire film into a character study disguised as an epic. The actor takes us on a journey that is not just physical or plot-driven, but internal, spiritual, and psychological. He begins as the embodiment of innocence, open, eager, disarmingly humble. The early scenes, where Edmond is laughing with his crew or holding Mercedes' hand, feel almost too warm, too perfect, and that's exactly the point. The performance lulls us into a sense of safety before the fall. Then comes the arrest, the betrayal, the dungeon, and something shifts. The actor doesn't just change overnight. He erodes. His voice starts to carry weight. His face hardens. The light behind his eyes dims, not all at once, but in stages, like a candle burning out. By the time he reemerges as the Count, it's a masterclass in transformation. His speech is crisp, deliberate. He enters rooms like a ghost made of vengeance. But what's most impressive is how the actor threads the past and present into one performance. You can still see the Edmond that was. He haunts the Count's expression, rising to the surface in moments of moral hesitation or deep emotional conflict. He doesn't play a man pretending to be someone else. He plays a man who's become someone else, yet carries the scars of who he used to be. That complexity is riveting. The performance of Mercedes is just as essential to the soul of the film. She is not portrayed as a romantic fantasy or a symbol of lost love. She is a full, wounded, dignified human being. The actress brings quiet strength to every scene. She doesn't cry for attention or beg for sympathy. Her pain is restrained, internalized, and all the more powerful because of it. She carries the weight of years in her posture, in the way her voice wavers just slightly when saying Edmond's name. When the Count and Mercedes meet again after years of silence, the performance is breathtaking. There's no need for fireworks or raised voices. It's two people sitting across from each other, holding back everything they want to say, and letting the pain settle between them like dust. The actress allows us to feel not just what Mercedes has lost, but what she's endured. It's a portrayal of survival and dignity in the face of heartbreak. Fernand is brought to life with a dangerously slick blend of charm and decay. The actor makes him instantly detestable, but never one-dimensional. He doesn't overplay the villainy. Instead, he plays a man who's constantly compensating. For what? For not being Edmond. For knowing he stole someone else's life. His gestures are just a little too grand. His smiles a little too forced. His anger a little too sharp. You see him trying to convince everyone, including himself, that he belongs in the world he's stolen. And as the Count's revenge begins to tighten around him, the unraveling is spectacular. His fear is ugly, petty, and deeply human. His last act is not a fall from grace. It's the collapse of a man who never had grace to begin with. Villefort is played like a coiled serpent. The actor gives him this veneer of professional composure. He's all legal speak, icy smiles, and carefully measured words. But beneath that mask is someone deeply terrified of scandal, weakness, and exposure. His performance is surgical. Every line has double meaning. Every reaction is half hidden. He's the character you watch with dread because you know his secrets are going to catch up to him. And when they do, the breakdown is delivered not with melodrama, but with restraint. That's what makes it so brutal. It's not a man screaming into the void. It's a man realizing in silence that everything he built was already rotten from the inside out. Danglars is the kind of performance that reminds you how enjoyable a good fall from grace can be. He's the opportunist, the financier, the social climber, and the actor plays him with a perfect mix of arrogance and insecurity. He talks big, but sweats quickly. He thrives on illusion and status. And when the Count dismantles his empire piece by piece, the desperation creeps in beautifully. You can see the pride drain from his face, and it's done with such believable cowardice that it becomes almost sad to watch. Almost. Abbe Faria is a performance full of warmth, gravity, and subtle mentorship. He isn't there for long, but he lingers in the film's emotional DNA. The actor plays him not just as wise and learned, but as profoundly kind. You believe that Faria is not just teaching Edmund how to read, think, and plot, but how to feel again. He's a man who's made peace with his own demons and wants to help someone else do the same. His death hits harder than expected. Not because of the shock, but because the performance has made him feel like a rare source of hope in an otherwise bleak world. The supporting cast never feels like filler. Heidi's performance is minimalistic, but emotionally piercing. Her presence is powerful, not because of dramatic speeches, but because of the quiet fire behind her gaze. She speaks with her posture, with the way she watches the Count, with the pain she's mastered but never forgotten. Albert, caught between legacy and truth, is played with touching sincerity. His conflict, loving his father but idolizing the Count, is handled with youthful vulnerability and real heartbreak. Jacopo brings in a dose of humanity and earthiness. He's not just comic relief, he's a grounding presence. The actor plays him with loyal grit, and you believe he'd follow the Count into any battle without hesitation. And when all these performances collide, when the Count confronts his betrayers, when Mercedes speaks truth to the ghost of her former love, when Faria's voice echoes in Edmund's mind during moments of doubt, what happens on screen is electric. These aren't scenes, they're detonations. You feel the weight of past choices, the ache of lost time, the rage of long-simmering wounds. The cast isn't acting in separate lanes. They're weaving a tapestry of emotional connection, betrayal, regret, and rebirth. What's most impressive is how these performances never feel exaggerated, even when the stakes are massive. Revenge, love, death, justice. It's all huge, operatic material, but the actors treat it like real life. Messy, painful, confusing, and utterly human. They don't shout the themes at you. They live them. And in doing so, they turn this classic revenge story into something that doesn't just entertain. It cuts straight to the soul. The direction of the Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, is an intricate dance between grand storytelling and intimate emotional resonance, masterfully weaving tone, mood, and narrative into a cohesive whole that pulls the audience deep into its world. The director's vision shapes every frame with a meticulous eye, refusing to settle for the surface-level spectacle that many period dramas risk falling into. Instead, this film breathes, its rhythm dictated by the emotional pulse of Edmond Dante's journey from hopeful sailor to avenging Count. This is direction that understands nuance, patience, and the power of visual storytelling to evoke feeling without relying on obvious cues or heavy-handed exposition. From the very first scenes, the director establishes a palpable atmosphere of impending doom beneath a veneer of serene normalcy. The early moments of Edmund's life are bathed in warm, golden hues that evoke a sunlit Mediterranean afternoon, a stark contrast to the cold, claustrophobic tones that will come later. The pacing here is deliberately unhurried, allowing us to bask in the joy and innocence of his youth, making his eventual betrayal feel all the more devastating. The camera lingers on small details, Edmund's smile, Mercedes' eyes, the gentle sway of the ship on the water, creating a sensory experience that pulls the viewer into the story's emotional fabric. Once betrayal strikes, the tone shifts dramatically, but never abruptly. The director opts for a gradual descent into darkness, mirroring Edmund's psychological unraveling. Shots become tighter, colors muted, and the sound design pulls back into near silence, immersing us in the oppressive solitude of the Château d'If. This slow burn approach to pacing demands patience, but rewards viewers with a profound sense of empathy. We don't just witness Edmund's suffering, we feel it in every frame. Time stretches and contracts, reinforcing the brutal monotony and crushing despair of his imprisonment. Visually, the director plays masterfully with contrasts to reinforce themes of duality and transformation. The visual palette shifts not only between light and dark, but between texture and space. The cold, stone walls of the prison feel suffocating, oppressive, and unforgiving, shot with harsh angles and shadows that create a sense of entrapment. Meanwhile, the Count's return to society unfolds in luxurious, almost decadent settings. The director uses soft, diffused lighting and grand architectural compositions to highlight the stark difference between Edmund's two worlds. Yet even these scenes carry an undercurrent of menace. The opulence is a gilded cage, and the Count is a specter haunting these grand halls. The camera often frames him in reflections, behind veils, or partially obscured, visually reinforcing his ambiguous identity and hidden motives. One of the director's standout stylistic choices is the use of slow, deliberate tracking shots during key moments of tension and revelation. These long takes don't just showcase technical prowess. They serve a narrative purpose, allowing the viewer to absorb the emotional weight of the scene without distraction. A perfect example is the moment when Edmund first returns as the Count. The camera glides through the bustling crowd, capturing Mercedes from afar, showing us the world she inhabits now, rich, complex, and tinged with sadness, before finally settling on Edmund's transformed visage. It's a visual crescendo, built on anticipation and subtlety rather than shock. The director's control over pacing is equally impressive. The film never rushes through pivotal moments, choosing instead to linger in the spaces between action. Conversations crackle with subtext because they're not hurried. Characters breathe, hesitate, and respond in ways that feel authentic and earned. Even the film's action sequences avoid flashy excess. Sword fights, confrontations, and moments of violence are choreographed with a grounded realism that emphasizes stakes and consequence over spectacle. The director opts for visceral, kinetic energy that puts the viewer in the thick of the struggle without resorting to cinematic pyrotechnics. Sound design and music also play crucial roles in shaping the film's tone under the director's guidance. Rather than using a sweeping orchestral score to tell us when to feel suspense or sadness, the film often opts for quieter, more atmospheric soundscapes. Natural sounds, wind, footsteps on stone, whispered voices, are amplified, pulling us deeper into the environment and into Edmund's fractured psyche. When music does swell, it's carefully placed to underscore emotional turning points, never overwhelming the moment, but rather enhancing its resonance. Narratively, the director plays with time and memory in subtle, inventive ways. Flashbacks are woven seamlessly into the present, not as jarring interruptions, but as haunting echoes that inform character motivation. Visual motifs, like the recurring image of the sea or a particular pendant, serve as connective tissue between past and present, hope and despair, love and vengeance. These choices enrich the storytelling, making the narrative feel layered and textured rather than linear or predictable. The director's vision also shines in how he handles the ensemble cast, balancing large-scale scenes with intimate character moments. Even amidst grand parties or tense confrontations, the camera often pulls close to capture fleeting expressions, revealing hidden emotions or internal conflicts. This close attention to performance ensures that the story never loses its human heart amid the spectacle. The director trusts the actors to convey complexity through subtle gestures, glances, and silences, and crafts the film's visual language around these moments. Transitions between acts are treated like carefully penned chapters in a novel, each marked by shifts in color grading, costume, and setting that signal changes in Edmund's journey. The progression from innocent youth to embittered avenger feels organic because the direction respects the character's psychological evolution, allowing us to feel every fracture, every rebirth. The film's final act doesn't just resolve the plot. It visually and emotionally completes the arc, bringing us full circle in a way that feels both inevitable and poignant. In summary, the director's hand is felt in every aspect of the Count of Monte Cristo, 2024. From the grand scale of its epic revenge tale to the quiet, intimate moments of heartbreak and reflection, the film's tone is meticulously calibrated, its pacing carefully controlled, and its visuals thoughtfully composed to support a story that is as much about the internal battles of its characters as it is about external justice. This is direction that honors the source material's complexity while making it feel fresh, urgent, and profoundly cinematic. It's a masterclass in how to tell a timeless story with both grandeur and soul. The cinematography in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, is nothing short of a masterclass in visual storytelling, where every frame is meticulously crafted to deepen the narrative and immerse the viewer in the rich emotional landscape of the film. This isn't just about capturing images. It's about using the camera as a storyteller in its own right, with angles, lighting, and framing working together like a symphony to convey layers of meaning beyond dialogue or plot. From sweeping vistas to intimate close-ups, the cinematography shapes the very soul of the film, creating a mood and atmosphere that feels both timeless and intensely immediate. At the heart of the cinematographic approach is an extraordinary use of camera angles to mirror the psychological and emotional journey of Edmond Dantes. Early in the film, when Edmund is still full of hope and innocence, the camera frequently adopts lower angles that give him a sense of openness and heroic optimism. Wide, airy shots emphasize the vastness of the sea and sky, symbolizing freedom, potential, and a future full of promise. The sunlit scenes feel warm and inviting, often framed with natural elements like the gentle sway of sails or rustling leaves that bring the Mediterranean world to life. These choices make you feel the promise of Edmund's life before it all falls apart. But as Edmund's world collapses, the cinematography shifts dramatically to echo his imprisonment and transformation. The camera moves from wide openness to confining tightness. The angles become more claustrophobic, shot through narrow bars, confined corridors, or shadowy corners that trap Edmund within the stone walls of the Chateau d'If. Sometimes the lens tilts slightly or uses unconventional framing to unsettle the viewer, giving a subtle visual cue that all is not right. This visual constriction is not merely an aesthetic. It viscerally communicates the crushing weight of despair and loneliness. You almost feel the cold dampness of the dungeon seeping through the screen. Lighting throughout the film is a dynamic character in itself, carefully sculpted to evoke the mood and emotional tenor of each scene. In the prison, harsh, cold lighting casts stark shadows, turning Edmund's face into a landscape of hardship and resilience. Flickering candlelight and minimal illumination create a world where hope is a fragile flame, barely holding back the surrounding darkness. Contrast this with the luxurious, often opulent interiors of the Count's Parisian life, where soft, diffused lighting bathes the sumptuous costumes and decor in a seductive glow. But even here, the shadows lurk in the corners, hinting at the underlying menace and duplicity. The lighting design never lets the beauty of these scenes become mere decoration. It always carries emotional weight and narrative significance. Framing and composition are used with exceptional precision to reinforce themes and character dynamics. The director and cinematographer often position characters within frames to symbolize their psychological states and relationships. Edmund is frequently framed behind literal or figurative barriers, bars, window panes, mirrors, that reflect his imprisonment not only physically but emotionally and socially. His dual existence as both victim and avenger is highlighted through the use of reflections and layered glass, showing the multiple facets of his identity. Group scenes are composed to emphasize power hierarchies and tension, with Edmund or the Count often isolated visually to underline his status as an outsider or a force apart. The meticulous compositions invite viewers to read between the lines of the image, decoding subtle signals of alliance, betrayal, and internal conflict. Among the most memorable sequences are those where the cinematography slows down to let the atmosphere and emotion breathe. The director's use of long takes and tracking shots allows the camera to wander with the characters, exploring their surroundings and inner worlds in one seamless flow. One standout moment is Edmund's return to society as the Count. The camera moves gracefully through a bustling crowd, catching Mercedes from afar and lingering on her expression before revealing Edmund's new guise. This gradual reveal builds tension and anticipation without relying on dramatic reveals or sound cues. It's pure visual storytelling. The audience experiences the moment almost as a witness, sharing in the character's complex emotions. The tension in the film is often created not just through narrative, but through the camera's intimate focus on subtle gestures and expressions. Close-ups capture fleeting emotions, an involuntary twitch, a glance that darts away, a tightening jaw, that speak volumes about what the characters are really thinking or feeling beneath their words. Depth of field is skillfully manipulated to isolate characters, or to create layered images where the background reflects the emotional or narrative subtext. In confrontational scenes, sudden shifts in focus or angle introduce unease, mirroring the psychological stakes and power struggles. One memorable scene between Edmund and Fernand uses a split composition and chiaroscuro lighting to visually divide their opposing worlds and highlight their mutual animosity. Action and sword-fighting sequences benefit from cinematography that balances fluidity with clarity. The camera moves deliberately with the combatants, capturing the physicality and tension of each encounter without resorting to disorienting cuts or excessive shaky cam. This approach makes every strike and parry feel consequential and grounded in reality. The choreography is enhanced by the camera's rhythm, which rises and falls to match the ebb and flow of the battle, creating an immersive experience that puts the viewer at the heart of the action rather than as a distant observer. Color grading throughout the film is another powerful storytelling tool. The palette shifts thoughtfully to reflect Edmund's changing fortunes and emotional states. Early scenes glow with warm earth tones, golden yellows, sunlit ochres, that evoke youthful optimism. The prison sequences adopt cooler, muted blues and grays, underscoring isolation and despair. When Edmund transforms into the Count, richer, more saturated colors emerge, deep reds, midnight blacks, and shimmering golds, that suggest power, mystery, and danger. The use of color is never arbitrary. It guides the viewer's emotional response and highlights narrative shifts without the need for exposition. Negative space and silence within the frame are employed with a poet's sensitivity. There are moments where the camera holds a solitary figure surrounded by emptiness, visually emphasizing isolation or inner turmoil. These compositions invite contemplation and draw the audience deeper into the character's psyche. The restraint in these scenes contrasts beautifully with moments of intense dialogue or action, creating a rhythm that breathes life into the film. The cinematography also cleverly uses natural elements and settings to reinforce themes. The restless sea appears as a recurring motif, its shifting tides mirroring Edmund's inner upheaval. Shots of the horizon suggest both freedom and the unknown, symbolizing hope and danger in equal measure. Architectural elements, crumbling stone walls, towering mansions, ornate ballrooms, are framed to tell stories of their own, reflecting the decay of old orders and the fragile masks of society. The editing and pacing in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, operate like the intricate gears of a finely crafted watch, each turn measured and purposeful, keeping the story ticking with perfect rhythm. From the outset, the film establishes a flow that feels both natural and engaging, guiding viewers through Edmond Dante's complex transformation with a balance of patience and urgency that few films manage to achieve. This is not a story that rushes to its destinations or drags its feet in needless filler moments. Instead, the editing carefully shapes the experience so that every scene, whether a quiet reflection or a thunderous confrontation, hits its emotional and narrative mark with precision. The film begins with a gentle, deliberate pace that reflects Edmond's innocent and hopeful beginnings. Here, the editing favors longer takes and smooth transitions that allow moments to unfold fully. Soft exchanges between characters, the sun-dappled sea, the gentle lapping of waves against a ship's hull. This unhurried rhythm invites the audience to settle into the world and emotionally invest in Edmond's life before tragedy strikes. It's like being lulled into a sense of peace, which makes the sudden betrayal all the more jarring. The editors resist any temptation to rush through these opening sequences. Instead, they savor the warmth and simplicity of Edmond's early world, ensuring the viewer feels what he has to lose. As Edmond's fate darkens, the editing begins to mirror his psychological state. The flow tightens and sharpens, switching gears as the narrative plunges into the bleakness of the Château d'If. The editors embrace a slower tempo here, allowing the camera to linger on Edmond's silent suffering and the grinding passage of time. Rather than rushing through his imprisonment, the pacing creates an almost meditative space, where despair, hope, and resilience simmer beneath the surface. The slow, deliberate cuts amplify the emotional weight of these moments, making the viewer acutely aware of how imprisonment warps not just the body but the mind. This willingness to linger demonstrates a confident editorial hand, one that trusts the audience to feel the depth of Edmond's ordeal without distraction. Yet, the film never stagnates. Once Edmond transforms into the Count and embarks on his quest for revenge, the editing injects renewed energy and sharper momentum. Scene transitions become more dynamic, reflecting the Count's strategic, calculating nature and the unfolding complexity of his plans. The pacing quickens to match the mounting tension as alliances shift and enemies fall. Smartly constructed montages compress time and action efficiently without losing clarity or emotional impact, enabling the story to cover years of scheming and maneuvering without bogging down the viewer. The editors skillfully balance the need to advance the plot with the necessity of maintaining narrative coherence, a feat that keeps the sprawling story feeling focused and purposeful. One of the film's most impressive editorial achievements lies in how seamlessly it handles shifts in time and perspective. Flashbacks, memories, and parallel storylines are woven into the main narrative with fluidity and clarity. Rather than jarring the viewer with abrupt cuts or confusing jumps, the editors use visual and auditory cues, like changes in lighting, color tone, or sound design, to smoothly transition between timelines. This approach not only enhances understanding, but enriches the emotional texture of the story, revealing character motivations and deepening the stakes without sacrificing pacing. The audience is never lost or pulled out of the moment, but gently guided through the layers of Edmond's past and present. Emotional rhythms within scenes are handled with great care, allowing moments of tension, revelation, or intimacy to unfold with realistic timing. The editors preserve silences, pauses, and hesitations in dialogue, recognizing their power to convey complexity and subtext. This restraint gives performances room to breathe and allows the audience to absorb the weight of each exchange. Whether it's a glance laden with unspoken meaning or a quiet tear, these subtle editorial choices heighten the film's emotional impact, creating a rich, immersive experience. When it comes to action, The editing strikes an ideal balance between excitement and clarity. Sword fights, chases, and confrontations are cut with precision to maintain spatial orientation, ensuring the viewer always understands what's happening and where each character stands. The rhythm of these sequences ebbs and flows, with bursts of rapid cutting interspersed with longer takes that showcase the choreography and heighten suspense. This approach grounds the action in realism, avoiding frenetic, disorienting edits that can detract from the stakes. The result is action that feels urgent and impactful, complementing the story rather than overshadowing it. The film's pacing also deftly balances its epic scope with moments of quiet intimacy. Large-scale set pieces and grand social gatherings are interspersed with personal, close-up moments that focus on character reactions and internal struggles. The editing transitions between these extremes smoothly, preventing tonal whiplash and preserving narrative cohesion. This interplay between the grand and the personal reinforces the story's central tension, the public spectacle of revenge versus the private pain behind it. By carefully modulating pace and focus, the editors keep the audience emotionally tethered throughout the sprawling narrative. Transitions between scenes and acts are handled with a keen editorial eye, often using creative visual motifs or sound bridges to connect sequences thematically and emotionally. For example, a closing shot of a stormy scene might dissolve into a bustling ballroom, linking Edmund's inner turmoil with the external chaos he's about to unleash. These transitions help maintain narrative flow and underscore the story's recurring motifs without feeling forced or contrived. In moments of heightened suspense or drama, the editing tightens noticeably, ratcheting up tension through shorter cuts and quicker pacing. Revelations, confrontations, and moments of betrayal gain added punch, because the editors know exactly when to accelerate the tempo and when to pull back. This control over rhythm ensures that climaxes feel earned and impactful, never rushed or diluted. Throughout the film, the editing mirrors Edmund's psychological journey. The tempo slows during his darkest hours, emphasizing isolation and despair, then quickens as the Count gains confidence and drives forward with purpose. This ebb and flow create a dynamic viewing experience that keeps the audience emotionally engaged and intellectually curious. The editors effectively use pacing as a storytelling tool, shaping the audience's experience of suspense, empathy, and catharsis. Overall, the editing and pacing in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, are nothing short of masterful, shaping a film that flows with clarity, emotional resonance, and narrative drive. The rhythm respects the complexity of the story and the depth of its characters, allowing the epic tale of betrayal and revenge to unfold with power and nuance. It's an editing style that invites viewers to lose themselves in the world and the journey, making every moment count and every beat feel vital. The soundtrack and score of The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, are crafted with an artistry that elevates the entire film experience, serving as an invisible yet omnipresent narrator that guides the audience's emotions and deepens the storytelling in ways that visuals alone could never achieve. This music isn't just background noise. It's a living, breathing part of the film's world, weaving intricate layers of feeling and meaning that pulse beneath every scene, every glance, every silence. The composer clearly understands that a great score doesn't shout to be noticed. It listens, responds, and amplifies the story's heartbeat, often in the subtlest of ways. Right from the opening moments, the soundtrack gently sets the emotional tone, establishing a soundscape that is both timeless and deeply intimate. The instrumentation favors classical acoustic elements, strings, piano, subtle woodwinds, that evoke the film's historical setting while carrying a universal emotional language. But the composer wisely avoids the trap of bombastic, over-the-top period music. Instead, the melodies are delicate and nuanced, carefully tailored to reflect the emotional texture of each scene. The early sequences, portraying Edmund's hopeful youth and simple life, are underscored with soft, lyrical themes that feel airy and optimistic. These musical motifs function like emotional bookmarks, planting seeds of innocence and aspiration that will later contrast sharply with the darker developments to come. What makes the soundtrack especially compelling is its use of recurring motifs that evolve alongside the characters and narrative. One particular melodic phrase, introduced in a gentle form early on, becomes a musical thread that runs throughout the entire film. As Edmund is betrayed, imprisoned and transformed, this motif subtly shifts, sometimes darkening into a minor key, sometimes stretching into haunting, fragmented notes, mirroring his fractured psyche and growing complexity. This thematic continuity creates a powerful subconscious connection for the audience, tying disparate moments and emotions together and reinforcing the film's unity. It's a technique that rewards attentive listeners and enriches the storytelling without ever feeling forced or repetitive. Silence and restraint are wielded as masterfully as the music itself. The film frequently employs near silence in pivotal scenes, where the absence of music heightens the intensity and draws focus to the actors' performances and visual storytelling. These quiet moments, like the echo of footsteps in a stone corridor, the distant crashing of waves, or the subtle rustle of a curtain, build a palpable tension that can be more powerful than any score. This skillful interplay between sound and silence lets the film breathe and creates a dynamic sound environment that respects the audience's intelligence and emotional sensitivity. The careful timing of musical entrances after these silences enhances their impact, making the score's appearances feel earned and meaningful. The dynamic range of the score is vast and expertly managed. In quieter, more reflective scenes, the music often recedes to sparse piano notes or soft, sustained strings, creating an atmosphere of melancholy, longing, or introspection. These moments feel like a gentle whisper, inviting the audience into Edmund's inner world and heightening emotional connection. In contrast, scenes of rising tension, conflict, or revelation see the music swell into lush orchestral arrangements, layering harmonies and rhythms to build excitement and drama without drowning out dialogue or overwhelming the viewer. The ebb and flow of intensity in the score mirror the narrative's own rises and falls, reinforcing pacing and emotional beats. During action sequences or moments charged with suspense, the score introduces more rhythmic and percussive elements, adding urgency and drive. Yet the music remains tasteful, avoiding the cliches of relentless drum beats or bombastic brass that can cheapen tension. Instead, the composer uses subtle shifts in tempo, texture, and instrumentation to create a simmering undercurrent of unease or anticipation. This nuanced approach maintains a sophisticated sonic atmosphere that supports the visuals without overpowering them. The soundtrack also incorporates period-appropriate musical influences and instruments, grounding the film's world in its historical context while maintaining a fresh and accessible sound. Elements drawn from Baroque and Romantic-era compositions appear as delicate flourishes woven into the larger score, adding authenticity and richness without becoming academic or distant. Occasionally, folk-inspired melodies arise, connecting to Edmund's roots and simpler past, enriching the emotional layers and underscoring the themes of lost innocence and transformation. This blending of musical styles deepens the narrative texture and gives the film a sonic identity that feels both historically resonant and emotionally immediate. The use of tonality throughout the score reflects the story's complex emotional and moral landscape. Minor keys, dissonant chords, and unexpected harmonic shifts evoke the ambiguity, pain, and inner conflict that define Edmund's journey. The music often hints at unrest beneath the surface, refusing to provide easy resolutions or comfort. This tonal complexity invites the audience to experience the film's themes not just intellectually, but viscerally, adding dimension to the portrayal of revenge, justice, and redemption. The score becomes a mirror to the character's troubled soul, challenging listeners to sit with discomfort and complexity. Transitions between musical pieces are crafted with great care, flowing smoothly from one emotional state to another without abrupt or jarring changes. The composer employs leitmotifs, recurring instrumental colors, and thematic bridges to connect scenes and ideas sonically, creating a seamless auditory journey. For example, a mournful violin line may slowly morph into a tense rhythmic pattern as the story shifts from sorrow to plotting, guiding the audience through the emotional narrative arcs without the need for explicit exposition. These transitions enhance cohesion and keep the viewer emotionally grounded even as the plot twists and turns. Vocals are sparingly but effectively used to elevate certain scenes, adding a haunting, ethereal quality. Wordless voices float in moments of heightened drama or reflection, imparting a sense of spiritual or mythic significance. These vocal textures act like emotional highlights or shimmering echoes, deepening the atmosphere and providing oral contrasts that enrich the film's sonic landscape. Their rarity makes each appearance feel special and charged with meaning, contributing to the film's layered artistry. Throughout the film, the score maintains a perfect balance, never overshadowing the dialogue or performances, but always enhancing them. The music sits just beneath the surface, like a steady current carrying the emotional weight of the story. This restraint allows viewers to remain fully engaged with the characters and plot, while feeling the subtle emotional undercurrents that the score provides. It's a delicate dance of presence and absence, volume and quiet, melody and silence that speaks to a deep understanding of film music's role in storytelling. In the end, the soundtrack and score of The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, are far more than mere accompaniments. They are essential storytelling tools that enrich, elevate, and intensify the film's emotional journey. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, dives deep beneath its thrilling surface to explore a wealth of profound themes and messages that make the film resonate far beyond its action and drama. This is not merely a tale of revenge and adventure. It's a nuanced meditation on the human condition, justice, identity, and the delicate balance between darkness and light that shapes all of us. Each theme is interwoven with the narrative and character arcs so naturally that the story feels richer and more layered, inviting the audience not only to watch but to reflect and connect on multiple levels. At the heart of the film lies the exploration of transformation and identity. Edmond Dante's journey is as much about who he becomes as it is about what he seeks to do. The film thoughtfully portrays the fracturing of Edmond's innocence and idealism under the crushing weight of betrayal and imprisonment. His rebirth as the Count of Monte Cristo is a stunning reinvention, a deliberate, strategic crafting of a new persona shaped by pain, resilience, and cunning. The film captures this duality with sensitivity, showing that identity is rarely fixed but often fluid, forged by circumstance, choices, and internal struggles. This theme challenges viewers to ponder the masks they wear in their own lives and the forces that shape their true selves. It asks, how much of who we are is innate, and how much is a response to the world's cruelties? The fine line between justice and vengeance is one of the film's most compelling thematic explorations. Edmond's quest initially feels like righteous retribution, a justified reckoning against those who wronged him. Yet the film refuses to reduce this to a simple moral tale. Instead, it probes the complexities and consequences of revenge. Through nuanced storytelling, it reveals how vengeance can twist into obsession, consuming the avenger and causing collateral damage to innocents caught in the crossfire. This theme is underscored by the relationships Edmond maintains and the moral dilemmas he faces, inviting audiences to wrestle with the question: can justice ever be fully achieved through revenge, or does it inevitably breed more pain? The film's refusal to offer easy answers elevates the narrative, making it a thoughtful reflection on human nature and the cost of retribution. Closely intertwined with this is the theme of forgiveness and redemption. Amidst the darkness and desire for vengeance, the film carefully threads moments of grace and compassion. Characters who embody forgiveness provide counterpoints to Edmund's relentless quest, reminding both him and the audience that healing is possible beyond revenge. These moments are tender and impactful, suggesting that redemption requires vulnerability and the willingness to let go, a difficult but transformative choice. This thematic balance adds emotional complexity, showing that even amid tragedy, hope and renewal can emerge. It encourages viewers to reflect on the power of forgiveness in their own lives. The tension between fate and free will permeates the film's philosophical undertones. Edmund's imprisonment is depicted as a cruel twist of fate, an injustice beyond his control. Yet his subsequent transformation and pursuit of vengeance highlight human agency and determination. The film navigates this interplay by portraying fate not as an absolute force, but as a backdrop against which personal choices are made. Edmund's resilience and cunning demonstrate the capacity to reclaim power over one's destiny, even in the face of overwhelming odds. This theme resonates universally, prompting audiences to consider how much control they truly have over their lives when confronted by external circumstances and internal desires. The film also provides a sharp commentary on social class, corruption, and power structures. Set in a world rife with aristocratic privilege and political intrigue, The Count of Monte Cristo exposes the hypocrisy and cruelty that often underpin the ruling elite. Edmund's rise from a wrongfully imprisoned sailor to a wealthy, influential nobleman lays bare the systemic injustices and moral bankruptcy of those in power. Yet the film also explores how power itself is morally neutral, capable of being wielded for justice or vengeance depending on the wielder's intent. This layered portrayal invites viewers to reflect on issues of inequality and justice that remain relevant across eras and societies. Loyalty and betrayal are emotional cornerstones that shape the narrative's tension and depth. The film vividly portrays the pain of broken trust and the bittersweet nature of loyalty. Betrayal serves not merely as a plot catalyst, but as a profound human experience that tests relationships and alters lives. These themes are explored through complex character dynamics, showing how loyalty can inspire both nobility and tragedy. The portrayal of these interpersonal bonds adds a personal, relatable dimension to the grand epic, reminding audiences that beneath sweeping narratives lie deeply human stories. Imprisonment, both physical and psychological, is a powerful metaphor throughout the film. The Château d'If serves not only as a literal prison, but as a symbol of isolation, despair, and the inner battles Edmund must face. The film's visual language and narrative focus on confinement echo broader questions about freedom. What does it mean to be truly free? How is freedom lost? And what does it cost to reclaim it? This metaphorical exploration resonates on a universal level, engaging audiences in reflection about their own struggles with limitation, whether external or internal. Love and sacrifice quietly pulse beneath the film's dramatic surface. Edmund's enduring love for Mercedes and the sacrifices he makes for his ideals humanize the Count, providing emotional stakes that prevent the story from becoming a cold revenge tale. This love is portrayed as both a source of strength and vulnerability, adding layers of complexity to Edmund's character and enriching the narrative texture. The film uses these emotional threads to remind viewers that even the most determined avenger remains deeply human. What makes the thematic exploration particularly effective is how naturally these ideas are woven into the storytelling. The film doesn't pause to lecture or overemphasize its messages. Instead, themes emerge organically through character decisions, plot developments, and visual storytelling. This subtlety enhances authenticity, making the film's messages feel lived in rather than imposed. Audiences are invited to engage with these themes at their own pace, sparking thought and conversation rather than delivering didactic statements. In the end, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, offers a rich thematic feast that lingers in the mind. Its explorations of identity, justice, vengeance, forgiveness, power, loyalty, and freedom create a multifaceted story that entertains while encouraging deep reflection. These themes don't just decorate the film. They shape its emotional core and narrative architecture, making the story a compelling and enduring experience that stays with viewers long after the screen fades to black. In The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, the visual effects and CGI operate with a masterful subtlety that is a testament to the filmmaker's dedication to storytelling above spectacle. Rather than overwhelming the audience with flashy or intrusive digital wizardry, the effects are carefully crafted to serve the film's immersive historical world, enhancing believability and emotional impact while remaining almost invisible to the casual viewer. This nuanced approach allows the digital and practical elements to dance in perfect harmony, building a cinematic universe that feels alive, textured, and authentic. One of the most striking achievements is how the CGI seamlessly extends and enriches the physical sets and locations. The production invested heavily in building sprawling, intricately detailed practical environments, weathered stone prisons, lavish aristocratic estates, bustling 19th-century ports that anchor the film's sense of time and place. The digital artists then carefully layer in subtle enhancements. Distant city skylines stretching beyond what the camera could capture, expansive Mediterranean seascapes that stretch to the horizon, and textured skies alive with shifting clouds and delicate light. These CGI extensions never feel like pasted-on backdrops, but rather natural continuations of the tangible world, skillfully matched in lighting, color, and detail to maintain a seamless visual flow. The film's creators show a clear preference for practical effects when it comes to tactile, close-up interactions. From worn leather costumes and hand-forged swords to period-accurate props and real physical stunts, these elements provide the actors with authentic textures to touch and react to. This tactile grounding gives performances a richness and credibility that can be difficult to achieve when actors interact predominantly with green screens or digital doubles. Practical stunts, fight choreography, physical altercations, daring escapes are captured with dynamic camera work and benefit from the physical presence of real effects, which enhances their visceral impact. CGI's role in these scenes is often to refine and augment, removing safety rigs, extending set pieces, or adding atmospheric dust and debris, to maintain realism without distracting. Action sequences in particular highlight the successful marriage of practical and digital effects. The sword fights crackle with energy, driven by real-time physicality and skillful stunt coordination. When the camera pulls back to reveal wider settings or to intensify dramatic moments, CGI steps in to enrich the environment, adding crashing waves against cliffside fortresses, billowing smoke from distant fires, or subtle debris stirred by a character's movement. These enhancements increase spectacle without overshadowing the grounded choreography or the character's emotional stakes. It's an elegant balance that preserves the immediacy of real action while benefiting from the possibilities digital tools offer. Atmospheric effects also benefit greatly from CGI's subtle hand. The film's visual language relies heavily on mood and tone, and digital effects enhance these qualities without shouting for attention. Shifting weather patterns, soft fog rolling in over the harbor at dawn, flickering torchlight casting dancing shadows in dank prison corridors, the warm glow of sunset bathing a coastal town, are digitally refined to heighten emotional resonance. These environmental touches help immerse the audience in a living world that breathes and changes organically. The seamless integration of natural elements with physical sets blurs the boundary between reality and artifice, reinforcing the story's emotional texture. Character-focused CGI work is similarly restrained but impactful. The film eschews heavy-handed digital makeovers in favor of subtle enhancements that support storytelling. For instance, Scars and wounds that mark Edmund's transformation are enhanced with digital layering to maintain continuity and realism throughout the film's timeline. Aging effects or slight modifications to appearance are carefully executed to avoid the uncanny valley, maintaining the natural skin textures and expressions vital to emotional connection. These invisible effects contribute significantly to character development, allowing transformations to appear believable without calling undue attention to the technology behind them. When the narrative demands grander vistas and sweeping landscapes, the CGI flexes its cinematic muscle with breathtaking results. Expansive panoramic shots of the Mediterranean coast, bustling 19th-century cities, and the looming fortress of Château d'If are digitally constructed or enhanced to give the film a cinematic scale that practical sets alone could never provide. These scenes are carefully lit and color-graded to blend perfectly with filmed footage, delivering an epic visual experience that expands the story's scope and grandeur. The use of light, shadow, and atmospheric perspective in these digital environments is meticulous, lending them a painterly quality that feels both realistic and evocative. Lighting and shading in the CGI elements deserve special mention. The digital artists pay extraordinary attention to how light interacts with surfaces, textures, and materials, replicating the soft diffusion of Mediterranean sunlight or the harsh contrast of torchlight in subterranean dungeons. This realism in lighting ensures that CGI objects respond naturally to the environment and the camera's movement, eliminating any jarring discrepancies that might pull viewers out of the story. The careful matching of digital lighting to on-set conditions is a subtle but crucial element that elevates the overall visual cohesion. The film also uses visual effects creatively to delve into psychological and narrative layers. In sequences depicting memories, dreams, or internal reflections, CGI is employed in a more stylized manner. Fractured visuals, shifting perspectives, and surreal overlays that signal a departure from straightforward reality. These sequences stand apart visually, providing artistic cues that help the audience navigate the film's complex emotional and temporal shifts. The imaginative use of digital effects here adds a layer of narrative sophistication, enriching the storytelling without sacrificing coherence. Behind the scenes, the collaboration between visual effects supervisors, production designers, cinematographers, and editors is clearly strong. This teamwork ensures that all digital and practical elements align with a unified visual vision and storytelling goal. The consistency in style, texture, and mood throughout the film speaks to a well-orchestrated integration process where technology serves creativity, not the other way around. This synergy is a major factor in why the visual effects feel so natural and unobtrusive. Most importantly, the film's visual effects never pull focus away from the human drama at its center. Instead, they act as silent partners, creating a world that supports and amplifies the emotional journeys of the characters. Whether it's the claustrophobic dread of prison walls or the sweeping freedom of open seas, the CGI and practical effects provide a backdrop that enhances mood and narrative without overshadowing performances or plot. The effects demonstrate a confident restraint that respects the audience's desire to stay emotionally connected rather than dazzled by spectacle. In The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, the set design and locations serve as a cornerstone of the film's immersive power, going far beyond simple backdrops to become fully realized characters that deepen the narrative and enrich the viewer's experience. The film's world is crafted with painstaking attention to detail and authenticity, inviting audiences into a meticulously constructed 19th-century France that feels vivid, textured, and palpably real. Every element, from the grandest room in a noble estate to the smallest tavern nook, is thoughtfully designed to pull viewers into the era, the story, and the emotions of its characters. Right from the opening scenes, the contrast between settings establishes a visual and thematic framework that carries through the entire film. The dark, oppressive atmosphere of Château d'If, where Edmond Dantes is imprisoned, is realized through a masterful combination of set design, lighting, and props. The dungeon's cold, damp stone walls are rendered with exquisite texture, cracks, stains, and layers of grime that speak of years of neglect. Rusted iron bars and heavy, ancient locks reinforce the sense of hopeless captivity. The sparse furnishings, if any, highlight the brutal minimalism forced upon prisoners. This environment does more than establish location. It envelopes the audience in Edmund's despair and isolation, making the prison not just a physical space, but an emotional crucible that shapes his character. The claustrophobic corridors and shadowy corners amplify the mood of entrapment and suspense, heightening the narrative tension every time Edmund navigates this grim world. When the film shifts to the opulent world of the aristocracy, the transformation in production design is dramatic and telling. Lavish ballrooms glitter with gilded moldings, crystal chandeliers, and polished marble floors, creating a stark contrast to the prison's austerity. Rich tapestries and intricate woodwork fill the rooms with texture and depth, while heavy curtains and richly upholstered furniture speak to a lifestyle of luxury and excess. Yet, beneath this glittering surface, the design subtly hints at the decay and corruption lurking within this privileged class. Tarnished silverware, faded upholstery, and dust settling on unused corners suggest a world obsessed with appearance but riddled with moral rot. This visual richness not only serves to captivate the eye, but also reinforces the film's themes of duplicity, power, and social decay. The production design team has expertly layered these details to invite viewers to look beyond surface glamour and perceive the tensions simmering beneath. The use of outdoor locations adds another compelling dimension to the film's visual storytelling. The filmmakers chose real historical sites and natural landscapes that echo the story's emotional beats. The Mediterranean coastline, with its rugged cliffs, sparkling blue waters, and golden sunlight, embodies freedom, escape, and the vast possibilities beyond confinement. Sweeping shots of the sea, olive groves, and small fishing villages provide a vivid sense of place that contrasts beautifully with the claustrophobic interiors of prisons and palaces. The locations feel alive, breathing with history and nature's rhythms, and provide an expansive canvas on which Edmund's journey of transformation can unfold. Whether it's a quiet country estate bathed in soft morning light, or a bustling 19th-century port filled with horse-drawn carts and market stalls, each outdoor setting is saturated with period details that transport the audience effortlessly into the era. Props are another area where the production design truly shines. Every object on screen has been chosen or crafted to reinforce authenticity and deepen narrative resonance. Simple items like Edmund's sailor's jacket, frayed and salt-stained, tell a story of his humble origins and harsh experiences at sea. In contrast, the luxurious accessories he acquires as the Count, ornate walking canes, finely tailored gloves, intricate jewelry, visually chart his ascent and reinvention. Weapons, letters, books, and personal effects are all rendered with painstaking historical accuracy, ensuring that even the smallest details feel grounded and meaningful. These props don't merely decorate the scene. They act as extensions of character and plot, conveying information and symbolism that enrich the storytelling. The design of the film's transitional spaces, streets, taverns, marketplaces, is equally impressive and crucial to the film's immersive quality. The bustling streets of Paris are recreated with a vibrant mix of period-appropriate signage, horse-drawn carriages, street vendors, and costumed extras going about their daily lives. These lively settings create a dynamic backdrop for scenes of intrigue and movement, grounding the story in a real, lived-in world that feels rich and complex. Taverns and inns are designed as warm, crowded spaces filled with the smell of wood smoke and the clatter of glasses, inviting moments of camaraderie and conspiracy. This attention to everyday life gives texture to the narrative and reminds audiences that Edmund's story unfolds within a broader social tapestry full of diverse characters and experiences. Color and texture throughout the film's sets are carefully calibrated to serve both aesthetic and thematic purposes. The muted grays, browns, and blues of prison scenes evoke bleakness, coldness, and despair, while the jewel tones, golds, and deep reds of aristocratic settings suggest wealth, passion, and sometimes danger. This deliberate color palette creates a visual language that helps viewers intuitively understand the emotional and social stakes in each scene. The tactile qualities of surfaces, the roughness of stone, the softness of velvet, the gleam of polished wood, add layers of sensory detail that deepen immersion. Psychologically, the sets are designed to interact with characters' emotional journeys. Spaces feel oppressive or liberating as needed, echoing Edmund's internal struggles. The prison's cramped, shadowy confines mirror his feelings of helplessness, while the expansive, light-filled rooms of noble estates symbolize both opportunity and the performative nature of social power. The production design transforms the environment into a storytelling tool, where architecture and decor carry emotional weight and narrative significance. The film's choice to film on location in historic sites with preserved 19th-century architecture adds unparalleled authenticity. Real walls, floors, and facades imbue the film with a tactile reality that no CGI set can fully replicate. The interplay of natural and artificial light in these spaces creates a rich visual texture, enhancing the cinematography's ability to capture mood and detail. Actors benefit from these tangible surroundings, enabling performances that feel natural and fully embodied. Costumes complement the sets perfectly, forming a cohesive visual world. Edmund's evolution from a simple sailor in rugged, worn clothing to a sophisticated nobleman dressed in sumptuous fabrics mirrors the film's physical settings and social themes. This synergy between wardrobe and environment strengthens the storytelling, allowing viewers to grasp character development and social dynamics visually. In all, the set design and locations in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, are a triumph of immersive craftsmanship. They create a richly detailed, believable world that envelopes the audience and enriches every scene. In The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, the dialogue and script are a masterclass in blending the timeless with the timely, weaving together eloquence, emotional depth, and an undercurrent of wit that keeps the audience hooked from scene to scene. The writing captures the spirit of the 19th century without drowning the viewer in archaic phrasing, striking a perfect balance where the language feels both authentic to the period and fresh enough for modern ears. This balance allows conversations to flow naturally, with characters speaking in a way that reveals their motivations and complexities without ever feeling stilted or overly theatrical. One of the most remarkable strengths of the script is its ability to convey complex emotions and relationships through dialogue that is simultaneously restrained and powerful. The conversations between Edmund Dantes and those around him, whether it's Mercedes, his betrayers, or allies, are charged with layers of meaning, where every word carries weight and every silence speaks volumes. For example, when Edmund confronts the people who wronged him, the dialogue is razor-sharp, filled with a mix of cold calculation and simmering pain. Yet, even in these charged moments, the writing avoids melodrama, opting instead for subtle shifts in tone and carefully measured words that invite the audience to feel the tension beneath the surface. The script doesn't shy away from moments of sharp wit and irony, especially in the interactions set against the backdrop of Parisian high society. These scenes sparkle with verbal jousting and social commentary, as characters deploy clever barbs and double entendres that expose the hypocrisies and power games of the elite. These exchanges not only provide a welcome contrast to the film's heavier themes of betrayal and revenge, but also enrich the characterization, showing how language itself becomes a battlefield where control and influence are won or lost. The humor is never gratuitous. It serves to deepen the story's texture and bring out the multifaceted nature of its characters. Memorable lines punctuate the script, becoming thematic touchstones that linger long after the film ends. These aren't just clever quotes. They crystallize Edmund's emotional and philosophical journey, giving voice to his transformation from a naive sailor to a determined avenger. Whether reflecting on fate, justice, or the nature of freedom, these moments are delivered with poetic resonance, helping the audience grasp the story's larger ideas while also feeling the personal stakes. Some lines achieve an almost lyrical quality, revealing the screenwriter's skill in elevating dialogue to something that transcends mere communication and becomes artful expression. Dialogue pacing in the film is expertly handled to maintain engagement and emotional rhythm. Conversations unfold with a natural cadence, neither rushed nor overly drawn out, allowing actors space to imbue their lines with nuance and subtlety. The script uses silence and pauses to great effect, recognizing that the power of what remains unspoken can be as impactful as spoken words. This creates a dynamic flow where tension can build quietly before erupting, or emotions can simmer beneath calm surfaces, drawing viewers deeper into the psychological complexity of the characters. The screenplay also shines in its attention to giving each character a distinct voice. Edmund's evolution is marked by a clear shift in his speech, from the earnest simplicity of a young sailor to the polished, enigmatic tones of the Count. This linguistic transformation mirrors his internal journey, signaling to the audience not just who he is, but who he has become. Other characters are similarly differentiated. Some speak with the blunt honesty of the working class, others with the refined, sometimes calculating eloquence of nobility. This variety enriches the film's social landscape, making every interaction feel authentic and layered with meaning. One of the script's cleverest qualities is how it uses dialogue to convey plot and exposition without feeling heavy-handed. Instead of relying on obvious info dumps, the story unfolds through conversations loaded with subtext, cryptic hints, and nuanced revelations. This approach engages the audience's curiosity and intelligence, inviting them to piece together the mystery alongside the characters. It creates a storytelling momentum that feels active and immersive rather than passive or explanatory. Emotional resonance is heightened through dialogue that captures the full complexity of relationships marked by betrayal, love, and redemption. Scenes between Edmund and Mercedes carry a bittersweet tenderness, with lines that convey both lingering affection and the painful scars of the past. Confrontations with antagonists are charged with a cocktail of resentment, anger, and cold resolve, made all the more gripping by the script's refusal to reduce characters to simple villains or heroes. Instead, every character's dialogue reveals shades of gray, making their motivations feel believable and their interactions unpredictable. Philosophical and thematic ideas are woven into the script with a deft hand, avoiding didacticism while provoking thought. Characters debate concepts such as justice versus revenge, fate versus free will, and the price of freedom with a naturalism that feels intrinsic to their personalities and circumstances. These discussions enrich the narrative, offering viewers food for thought without interrupting the story's momentum or emotional arc. The script's ability to balance grand, sweeping declarations with intimate, personal moments is another standout feature. Whether Edmund is addressing a crowd, confronting an enemy, or sharing a quiet moment with a loved one, the dialogue adapts fluidly to the tone and stakes of the scene. This versatility keeps the film's verbal landscape dynamic and engaging, preventing any sense of monotony or predictability. In addition, the screenplay respects the power of economy, knowing when to let a single well-chosen phrase carry the weight of a scene. These moments of brevity often prove the most memorable and emotionally resonant, demonstrating the skill of the writers in choosing language that is both efficient and evocative. The dialogue's ability to suggest entire emotional worlds or backstories in just a few words enhances the film's storytelling efficiency and depth. Overall, the dialogue and script in The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, form a rich tapestry of language that elevates the film beyond a simple retelling of a classic tale. Through intelligent writing, emotional nuance, memorable lines, and a careful blend of wit and gravitas, the script invites the audience into a world where words carry power, reveal truths, and shape destinies. It is a vibrant verbal landscape where every conversation advances the story, deepens character, and enriches the thematic fabric, making the film as engaging to listen to as it is to watch. In The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, the film fully embraces the rich traditions of the adventure and revenge genres, yet it does so with a confident, modern sensibility that breathes fresh energy into what might otherwise feel like a familiar narrative. Instead of merely retelling a classic story, the filmmakers carefully balance the expectations of genre aficionados with innovative storytelling choices that keep the audience hooked and emotionally engaged throughout. This balancing act between honoring the genre's conventions and pushing boundaries is one of the film's most compelling strengths. From the outset, the film establishes itself firmly within the epic revenge saga tradition, complete with grand themes of betrayal, injustice, and transformation. Edmond Dante's journey from wronged prisoner to master of calculated vengeance ticks many of the classic boxes you'd expect: wrongful imprisonment, daring escapes, secret fortunes, and the meticulous unraveling of his enemies' lives. Yet, the narrative is far from formulaic. Instead, it delves deeply into the psychological and moral complexities of revenge, exploring how such a consuming quest affects not only the protagonist, but everyone caught in its wake. This nuanced approach prevents the story from becoming a simple tale of good versus evil, instead presenting a morally rich landscape where justice and retribution blur and overlap. The action sequences in the film avoid the pitfalls of overstylization or excessive CGI-driven spectacle. Instead, they are choreographed with a clear focus on realism and emotional impact. Sword fights feel gritty and intense, not like polished dance routines, and chase scenes maintain a pulse-pounding tension without sacrificing clarity. This grounded approach helps maintain narrative coherence and ensures that the stakes feel real rather than cartoonish. The filmmakers also wisely intersperse moments of action with quieter, introspective scenes, providing a rhythm that keeps the audience both physically and emotionally engaged. The ebb and flow of intensity serve the storytelling, making every high-energy moment feel earned and meaningful. Suspense is crafted with great care throughout the film. The storytelling unfolds deliberately, layering mystery and intrigue that encourage viewers to actively piece together the plot alongside Edmond. Instead of rushing through revelations or telegraphing twists, the film builds tension through well-timed pacing, strategic withholding of information, and shifting perspectives. This technique keeps the audience invested, often on the edge of their seats, as the story's complex web of secrets and schemes gradually unravels. The narrative's intricacies are balanced to avoid confusion, ensuring that suspense serves as a driving force rather than a source of frustration. Humor, though not abundant, is sprinkled throughout the film with precise timing and purpose. The witty exchanges and subtle social satire mostly emerge in scenes involving secondary characters or in moments of social interaction among the aristocracy. This lightness serves as a refreshing foil to the film's heavier themes and adds dimension to the characters, reminding viewers that even in dark times, there is room for levity and human connection. The humor never feels forced or out of place. Instead, it enriches the tone by highlighting character personalities and societal hypocrisies, adding a layer of sophistication to the storytelling. The dramatic core of the film is where it truly shines, delivering emotional arcs that feel authentic, complex, and deeply resonant. The relationships, whether romantic, familial, or antagonistic, are explored with sensitivity, avoiding melodramatic cliches in favor of subtle, layered portrayals. Edmond's evolving dynamic with Mercedes, for example, captures the bittersweet tension of love marred by betrayal and time. Similarly, The confrontations with his enemies are charged with a mix of rage, regret, and calculated coldness, providing emotional complexity that elevates the narrative beyond a simple revenge plot. This focus on character-driven drama grounds the film, giving audiences emotional stakes that feel personal and compelling. What sets the film apart in terms of genre is its willingness to subvert expectations and complicate familiar archetypes. Edmund is far from a flawless hero. The script delves into his vulnerabilities, moral conflicts, and the toll that revenge exacts on his soul. His enemies are not merely villains to be vanquished, but multi-dimensional characters with motives and regrets, making the narrative richer and more thought-provoking. This refusal to settle for simplistic characterizations invites the audience to grapple with challenging questions about justice, forgiveness, and the cost of obsession, elevating the story to a more mature and nuanced level. Visually and tonally, the film skillfully balances the grandeur expected of epic adventures with intimate moments of personal reflection. Sweeping shots of majestic landscapes, imposing castles, and glittering ballrooms create the scale and spectacle fans anticipate. At the same time, close-ups and quiet, introspective scenes draw viewers into the internal struggles of the characters, creating a layered experience that satisfies both the senses and the heart. This interplay of epic and intimate enhances the genre's appeal and helps maintain narrative momentum without sacrificing emotional depth. Ultimately, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, succeeds by both embracing and enriching its genre. It delivers the thrilling adventure, intricate plotting, and emotional drama that fans expect, while also challenging and expanding those expectations through nuanced character work, sophisticated themes, and clever pacing. The film's smart blend of excitement, suspense, wit, and heartfelt storytelling revitalizes the classic revenge tale, making it feel fresh and relevant for contemporary audiences. It's a movie that understands the power of its genre conventions, but isn't afraid to question them, resulting in an experience that's as engaging intellectually as it is entertaining emotionally. This thoughtful, dynamic approach ensures that the film doesn't just retell a beloved story. It redefines what a revenge epic can be. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, goes beyond its thrilling revenge narrative to offer a rich tapestry of social and cultural commentary that feels surprisingly fresh and relevant for today's audiences. What stands out most is how seamlessly these themes are woven into the story, never coming across as forced or didactic, but rather growing organically out of the characters' experiences, the plot's conflicts, and the richly detailed world they inhabit. This natural integration invites viewers to reflect on enduring societal issues without interrupting the momentum or emotional power of the film. At the heart of the film's social commentary lies a potent examination of justice, power, and corruption, issues that continue to spark vigorous debate across the globe. The film skillfully portrays the devastating effects of institutional failure through Edmond Dante's wrongful imprisonment, shining a spotlight on how those in positions of authority can manipulate the system to serve their own interests at the expense of the innocent. This portrayal feels particularly resonant in today's context, where conversations about judicial reform, abuse of power, and accountability are front and center in many societies. Rather than simply painting a black-and-white picture of villains and victims, the film delves into the murky complexities of power dynamics, showing how corruption can be systemic and insidious, often hidden beneath layers of respectability and social status. Closely intertwined with this is the film's nuanced exploration of class struggle and social mobility. The rigid class divisions of 19th-century France provide a compelling backdrop against which Edmund's journey unfolds. His humble beginnings as a sailor contrast sharply with the opulence of the aristocracy he later infiltrates as the Count. This transformation raises profound questions about identity, privilege, and the nature of social ascent. The film thoughtfully explores the costs and compromises inherent in crossing these societal boundaries, hinting at the fragility and performative aspects of status and power. This invites viewers to consider how class structures shape opportunities and personal trajectories, not just in the past, but in contemporary society, where economic disparity and social stratification remain pressing issues. Gender dynamics are handled with an admirable degree of subtlety and sensitivity. Female characters such as Mercedes are portrayed with depth and agency, often missing from traditional period dramas. The film reveals the limited but significant ways women navigated and influenced a male-dominated world, highlighting their resilience and complexity. These portrayals reflect ongoing modern conversations about gender roles, equality, and the nuances of female empowerment. By giving women meaningful narrative space, the film enriches its storytelling and broadens its cultural relevance, reminding audiences that these struggles transcend time periods. Identity and transformation emerge as powerful thematic currents woven throughout the narrative, with Edmund's personal evolution serving as a potent metaphor for self-reinvention amid adversity. This theme resonates strongly in an era where questions about identity, belonging, and change are increasingly fluid and contested. The film presents identity as something malleable, yet fraught with consequence. Edmund's reinvention as the Count brings power, but also isolation, and the cost of vengeance leaves its mark not only on others but on himself. This nuanced treatment of identity encourages viewers to reflect on the complexities of personal growth and the shadow side of transformation. Importantly, the film's social and cultural themes never feel like interruptions or overt moralizing. They arise naturally through the plot's developments, character interactions, and dialogue, allowing audiences to engage with the ideas at their own pace. The historical setting serves as more than just a period backdrop. It becomes a lens through which contemporary issues can be examined, bridging past and present in a way that feels both enlightening and compelling. This approach avoids the trap of making history feel irrelevant or overly academic, instead highlighting its continued resonance with today's world. The film also subtly critiques the performative nature of social status and public identity. The Count's extravagant persona is as much a mask and tool as it is a new self. This duality prompts reflections on how individuals and societies construct identities to navigate power structures, a theme with obvious parallels in today's social media-driven world, where image and perception often matter as much as reality. The film invites viewers to consider the tension between authenticity and performance, a theme that adds psychological depth and modern relevance. Furthermore, the portrayal of justice versus revenge offers a thoughtful commentary on human nature and societal values. Edmund's quest blurs the lines between righteous justice and personal vendetta, prompting audiences to question the morality of retribution and the price of obsession. This complexity resonates with ongoing debates about restorative justice, punishment, and forgiveness in modern legal and ethical discussions. By embedding these weighty themes in a richly textured, character-driven story, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, transforms itself into more than just a historical adventure. It becomes a meaningful exploration of the social and cultural forces that shape human experience across eras. The film's ability to make these ideas feel immediate and relevant without sacrificing narrative excitement or emotional engagement is a testament to the filmmaker's skill. It proves that period dramas can be powerful vehicles for contemporary reflection, inviting audiences not only to be entertained, but to think critically about justice, power, identity, and society's ongoing struggles. In the end, the film's social and cultural commentary enriches every aspect of the viewing experience. It challenges viewers to look beyond the surface of an epic revenge story and consider the broader implications of its themes, making the film linger in the mind long after the credits roll. Through its deft handling of complex topics and its thoughtful connection to present-day issues, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, elevates itself into a work that is both timeless and timely, proving that great storytelling can also be great social commentary. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, delivers an emotional journey that grips its audience from the very first frame and holds tight until the final moments. This isn't just a story to watch, it's one to feel deeply, as the film expertly taps into a wide spectrum of emotions that resonate on a personal level. From the innocence and hope that mark Edmond Dante's early life, to the shattering betrayal and despair that follow, the audience is invited into a world where feelings run raw and true. The film captures the highs and lows of human experience with such authenticity that viewers can't help but be drawn in, experiencing each victory and setback alongside the characters. One of the film's greatest emotional strengths lies in its capacity to surprise and move the audience unexpectedly. Just when viewers feel secure in what they know, a sudden twist, be it a betrayal, a revelation, or an act of mercy, strikes with full emotional force. These moments are carefully crafted to feel earned and meaningful, never cheap or manipulative, ensuring that the audience's reactions are genuine. Whether it's the heartbreak of Edmund's wrongful imprisonment or the quiet, powerful exchanges between characters who bear scars both visible and hidden, these emotional beats resonate long after the scene fades. The film balances these heavier moments with well-placed instances of humor and warmth, which serve not only to lighten the tone, but also to deepen characterizations. Witty banter and subtle comedic timing emerge naturally from the dialogue, often in scenes involving supporting characters or social interactions among the elite. These flashes of humor humanize the story, reminding audiences that even in the darkest situations, moments of levity and kindness can shine through. This emotional layering keeps the narrative dynamic, preventing the film from feeling relentlessly somber and maintaining a rhythm that is engaging and varied. Excitement pulses through the film's veins, driven by thrilling sequences that are as emotionally charged as they are visually compelling. Daring escapes, tense confrontations, and elaborate revenge plots unfold with a pace that keeps adrenaline high while preserving clarity. This ensures the audience is fully invested in the stakes and outcomes, unable to look away. The film's pacing is masterful, alternating between high-energy action and quieter, reflective scenes that allow emotional depth to flourish. This push and pull between tension and respite sustains engagement and maximizes emotional impact. Beyond the surface thrills and drama, the film invites deep emotional investment by presenting complex, multifaceted characters whose motivations and struggles spark reflection and discussion. Edmund's transformation from naive sailor to avenger is filled with moral ambiguity, prompting audiences to question the nature of justice, forgiveness, and the personal cost of revenge. These themes encourage viewers to revisit the film, discovering new layers and nuances with each viewing. The story's richness makes it ideal for thoughtful reflection and spirited debate, extending its impact beyond a single watch. The film also creates unforgettable emotional moments, powerful confrontations, tender reunions, and poignant reflections that lodge themselves in the viewer's memory. These scenes serve as emotional anchors, making the story linger long after the screen goes dark. They become focal points for conversation among audiences, who find themselves dissecting character choices, moral dilemmas, and thematic messages. This lasting emotional resonance transforms the film from mere entertainment into a shared experience that connects people through its universal themes. Strong performances elevate the emotional connection further. The actors' nuanced portrayals bring layers of subtlety to their roles, conveying complex feelings through small gestures, meaningful glances, and restrained dialogue delivery. This authenticity allows viewers to see the characters not as distant figures in a story, but as real people with hopes, fears, and flaws. The emotional truth in these performances deepens the audience's empathy and involvement, making the highs and lows feel intensely personal. In addition, The film's use of music and sound design complements the emotional storytelling, accentuating moments of tension, sorrow, joy, or revelation without overwhelming the narrative. This thoughtful sonic backdrop helps guide the audience's emotional journey, subtly enhancing the impact of key scenes and contributing to the film's immersive quality. Overall, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, crafts an emotional landscape that is both sweeping and intimate, thrilling and poignant. It skillfully combines moments of laughter, shock, sorrow, and exhilaration into a seamless whole that keeps viewers emotionally hooked. The film invites not only passive viewing but active engagement, feeling deeply, thinking critically, and talking enthusiastically about the experience. This rich emotional texture is what transforms a classic tale into a living, breathing adventure that resonates long after the final credits roll. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, arrives in a cinematic landscape that's no stranger to tales of revenge, justice, and redemption, stories that have been adapted countless times, across eras and styles. What makes this particular adaptation stand out is how it navigates the balance between honoring the legacy of past versions and offering a fresh, compelling take that feels vibrant and relevant. When stacked up against earlier films based on Alexandre Dumas' classic novel, this version distinguishes itself through its layered character exploration and a more nuanced approach to the story's darker themes, providing audiences with something that feels both familiar and strikingly new. Many previous adaptations of The Count of Monte Cristo have leaned heavily into grand spectacle, or focused primarily on the thrilling aspects of Edmond Dante's transformation and revenge. While these elements are certainly present here, the 2024 film doesn't stop there. It digs deeper into the psychological complexity of its characters, particularly Edmond himself, exploring how the pursuit of vengeance reshapes identity, morality, and human connection. This focus on internal conflict adds emotional depth that elevates the film beyond a mere revenge thriller. It's a sophisticated take that challenges viewers to consider the cost of revenge on the soul, rather than just watching a simple hero-turned-avenger story unfold. When compared to other period revenge epics, such as Les Miserables, The Man in the Iron Mask, or even films like V for Vendetta in Spirit, this film finds a unique voice by balancing sweeping, epic storytelling with intimate, character-driven moments. Unlike some of its genre cousins that might indulge in melodrama or relentless action, this version of Monte Cristo leans into emotional authenticity and moral ambiguity. Villains are not cartoonishly evil, and Edmond's quest isn't glorified without question. Instead, the film revels in the shades of gray, inviting viewers to wrestle with the ethical implications of revenge, justice, and forgiveness. This complexity offers a richer, more thought-provoking experience than many of its peers. Visually and stylistically, the film sets itself apart by favoring grounded, realistic action sequences and immersive period details over flashy CGI or over-the-top stunts. Sword fights are choreographed with a gritty authenticity that keeps the tension high without losing believability. This contrasts with some modern adaptations that might prioritize spectacle at the expense of story or character. The film's production design and cinematography work hand in hand to create an evocative atmosphere that transports viewers to 19th century France, but with an immediacy that makes the setting feel alive and relevant, rather than just a backdrop for action. Looking at the director's previous body of work, if relevant, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, could be seen as either a continuation of their strengths or a bold new direction. Directors known for intimate dramas or character studies will find much to flex in this adaptation's emotional depth and complexity. On the other hand, if the director's history is rooted in high-energy genre fare, this film might represent a welcome maturity, blending thrilling elements with nuanced storytelling and moral inquiry. Either way, the film showcases a careful balancing act that suggests growth and versatility, while staying true to the story's core themes. One of the film's most notable achievements is its tonal balance. Unlike adaptations that skew either too dark and brooding or too romanticized and escapist, this film mixes tension, drama, and introspection with moments of humor and warmth. These lighter scenes often arise through clever dialogue and secondary characters, providing a welcome emotional respite and humanizing the story. This careful tonal interplay broadens the film's appeal, making it accessible to a wider audience that includes both fans of classic literary adaptations and those who appreciate more contemporary, emotionally resonant storytelling. The film also avoids the common pitfall of feeling slow or overly dense, a frequent challenge in adapting complex literary works. Its pacing is brisk yet measured, ensuring that the plot unfolds with clarity and momentum. Tight editing and well-crafted narrative structure keep viewers invested, avoiding the fatigue that sometimes accompanies sprawling period dramas. This agility makes the film feel fresh and lively, even as it engages with a story that's been told for generations. In the grand scheme of revenge dramas and period adventures, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, stakes a claim as a thoughtful and emotionally engaging entry. It respects the source material and the expectations of the genre, while injecting a contemporary sensibility that emphasizes psychological nuance and moral complexity. Instead of relying on tired formulas or superficial thrills, the film invites audiences into a rich, multidimensional experience that challenges, excites, and moves. Ultimately, when you line up The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, alongside its genre peers, franchise predecessors, or the director's past films, it emerges as a standout for its balance of tradition and innovation. It's a film that understands the power of classic storytelling, but isn't afraid to reinterpret and deepen it for a modern audience. This combination of reverence and reinvention is what gives the film its distinctive voice, making it a memorable and compelling watch within a crowded field of revenge epics and period dramas. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, unfolds as much more than a classic revenge story. It's a carefully crafted visual and thematic puzzle filled with symbolism and metaphor that invite the audience to dig beneath the surface and discover hidden meanings woven throughout the film. These layers of symbolism aren't just decorative. They actively deepen the narrative, enrich character arcs, and elevate the storytelling into a multidimensional experience that rewards attentive viewing. At the forefront of the film's symbolic imagery is the ever-present motif of the sea. The ocean is far more than just a setting. It acts as a powerful metaphor for Edmond Dante's emotional and psychological voyage. The vast, sometimes tranquil, sometimes violent sea mirrors the unpredictable currents of fate and fortune that sweep through his life. Early on, the sea represents freedom and possibility, reflecting Edmond's hopeful youth and dreams of a bright future. Yet, it also becomes a symbol of isolation and peril, especially when he is cast away from society through wrongful imprisonment. The sea's vastness embodies the unknown, the uncontrollable forces that shape destiny, while its tides suggest the inevitable rise and fall of fortune and human endeavor. It's a symbol of constant flux, perfectly capturing the themes of transformation and renewal that underpin Edmond's journey. Imprisonment itself carries heavy symbolic weight throughout the film. The physical walls of the Château d'If are not just literal barriers, but represent the deeper emotional and moral imprisonment that Edmond suffers. The cold, confining spaces of the prison symbolize how betrayal and injustice can trap not only the body but the spirit. These moments of confinement visually and emotionally underscore Edmond's sense of loss, despair, and helplessness. The stark contrast between these claustrophobic settings and the later grandeur of the Count's opulent world highlights the extremes of Edmond's transformation, from captivity to apparent freedom, but also hints at new kinds of psychological imprisonment brought on by revenge and obsession. Keys, locks, and gates appear repeatedly as potent visual metaphors. Beyond their literal function, They symbolize access to truth, freedom, and self-discovery. The act of unlocking becomes a powerful image of revelation. Whether it's unlocking hidden secrets, personal memories, or justice long denied. Keys also evoke the notion of control, who holds power over knowledge and destiny, and are tied intimately to the plot's unfolding mysteries. These recurring motifs subtly remind the audience that liberation, whether physical or emotional, often requires unlocking the past and confronting hidden realities. Masks and disguises are another layered symbol the film explores in depth. Edmund's reinvention as the Count of Monte Cristo is literally a dawning of a new identity, a mask that allows him to navigate elite society and execute his plans for revenge. This transformation raises compelling questions about authenticity and performance. How much of who we are is constructed, and at what cost? The masks characters wear, both figuratively and literally, symbolize deception but also protection. This motif explores the tension between self-preservation and alienation, illustrating how adopting a facade can empower but also isolate. Costume design, makeup, and lighting choices reinforce this theme, often highlighting moments when characters' true selves are hidden or revealed. Light and shadow serve as dynamic visual metaphors throughout the film, emphasizing moral complexity and inner conflict. Scenes frequently play with chiaroscuro, sharp contrasts between brightness and darkness, to illustrate the duality of human nature. Faces half hidden in shadow suggest secrets, doubt, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. Moments of illumination often correspond to revelation, truth, or moral clarity, while encroaching darkness hints at deceit, danger, or despair. This visual interplay adds psychological depth to the narrative, creating an atmospheric tension that mirrors the characters' inner struggles. Water imagery extends beyond the sea to include rain, reflective pools, fountains, and tears, each layered with symbolic significance. Water frequently acts as a metaphor for cleansing, renewal, and emotional reflection. Scenes involving rain or fountains often mark moments of transformation or catharsis. Characters washing away guilt, sorrow, or past identities. Reflective surfaces become spaces of introspection where Edmund and others confront their true selves. These watery images reinforce the film's central themes of change, fluid identity, and the hope for redemption. Objects such as letters, books, and documents carry their own symbolic weight in the story. They represent the power of knowledge, truth, and secrets. Often, these written artifacts become the keys to Edmund's liberation or the exposure of his enemies. Their presence underscores how information can be both weapon and salvation, shaping the course of the narrative. This motif speaks to the broader idea that knowledge is a form of power, one that must be wielded wisely to achieve justice or vengeance. Color symbolism also plays a subtle but effective role in the film's visual storytelling. The contrast between muted, cold tones during Edmund's imprisonment and the rich, warm palette of his later life, as the Count visually maps his emotional and social transformation. Reds often highlight passion, danger, and violence, whether in moments of love, rage, or revenge, while blues and grays evoke melancholy, restraint, and contemplation. This shifting color scheme helps communicate mood and theme without words, adding another dimension to the viewer's experience. Even architecture and set design contribute metaphorically. The labyrinthine corridors, crumbling ruins, and imposing mansions are more than just locations. They reflect the complexity and fragmentation of Edmund's inner world. Narrow passageways and winding staircases symbolize confusion, entrapment, and the convoluted paths toward truth and justice. Open courtyards and expansive vistas signify freedom, possibility, and the broadening horizons of Edmund's new identity. These physical spaces visually narrate the emotional landscape, reinforcing the tension between confinement and liberation. Together, These symbols and metaphors form a rich tapestry that invites viewers to engage actively with the film on multiple levels. They enhance the storytelling by providing emotional resonance and intellectual stimulation, transforming The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, into a layered, immersive experience. Rather than just presenting a tale of revenge, the film uses these elements to explore deeper questions about identity, justice, transformation, and the human condition itself. This intricate symbolic language also encourages repeat viewings and thoughtful discussion, as audiences uncover new meanings and connections each time they revisit the film. It challenges viewers to become detectives themselves, piecing together clues and interpreting the visual poetry embedded in every scene. The use of symbolism and metaphor doesn't complicate the story unnecessarily. Instead, it enriches it, making the film both entertaining and intellectually rewarding. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, arrives not just as a standalone cinematic experience, but as a meaningful chapter in the long and storied tradition of bringing Alexander Dumas' classic to life. While it doesn't belong to a formal franchise or series, it's very much part of an expansive cultural tapestry that spans over a century of adaptations in film, television, theater, and literature. Each new version of Edmond Dante's tale carries the weight of this legacy, and the 2024 film embraces this heritage by weaving familiar themes and iconic moments with fresh interpretations and contemporary filmmaking sensibilities. This positions the film both as a tribute to and an evolution of a timeless narrative, offering audiences a new lens through which to engage with the story's enduring appeal. Historically, the film plunges deep into the complex and turbulent era of early 19th century France, an epoch marked by seismic political shifts following the fall of Napoleon. The filmmakers have clearly prioritized historical authenticity, painstakingly recreating the social hierarchies, fashions, architecture, and atmosphere of the Restoration period. From the grim, oppressive corridors of the Château d'If prison to the lavish salons and estates of the French aristocracy, every setting is imbued with period detail that transports the viewer into a world of both grandeur and oppression. This careful attention to the socio-political landscape grounds the story firmly in reality, making Edmond's personal trials and triumphs all the more vivid and believable. The film does more than use history as mere backdrop. It actively engages with the political and social forces that define the era. The shifting power dynamics between monarchists, Bonapartists, and Republicans create a charged environment where trust is scarce and betrayal lurks at every corner. These elements ripple through the narrative, influencing key plot points and character motivations. Edmond's wrongful imprisonment, for example, is as much a result of personal vendettas as it is a reflection of the era's political paranoia and corruption. This blending of personal drama with historical context adds layers of complexity and realism, reminding viewers that individual destinies are often intertwined with the broader currents of history. Comparing this version to earlier adaptations highlights a distinctive commitment to historical fidelity and narrative depth. While some previous films have opted for romanticized or sanitized portrayals of the period, this adaptation embraces the era's contradictions. The stark contrasts between wealth and poverty, justice and injustice, freedom and confinement. The film's depiction is unflinchingly honest, showing the harsh realities of life under an unstable regime, while also capturing the elegance and decadence of the elite. This balance creates a richly textured world that feels authentic rather than idealized, allowing audiences to experience the full emotional and political weight of Edmond's journey. The film also honors the extensive lineage of adaptations by incorporating subtle nods and references that longtime fans will appreciate. Whether through visual homages to iconic scenes or through narrative parallels to past renditions, it engages in a respectful dialogue with its cinematic predecessors. These intertextual moments enrich the viewing experience, offering a layered appreciation for the story's enduring presence in popular culture and its evolution across generations. The portrayal of social structures, legal systems, and cultural norms of the time is thoughtfully handled, providing insight into how these forces shape characters' lives and decisions. The rigid class distinctions and the corrupt machinations of those in power are portrayed with nuance, illustrating how societal constraints both imprison and define individuals. Edmund's transformation into the Count is not just a personal reinvention, but also a navigation through these layered social hierarchies, reflecting the broader themes of identity and power. While the film does not explicitly set up a franchise or sequels, its rich historical detail and complex characterizations naturally invite further exploration. The expansive world it builds and the unresolved emotional threads suggest fertile ground for future stories. Perhaps prequels exploring Edmund's life before his imprisonment or sequels following the aftermath of his quest for justice. This openness lends the film a mythic quality, positioning it as a living narrative that continues to evolve with each retelling. Ultimately, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, achieves a remarkable fusion of historical accuracy and compelling storytelling. It immerses viewers in a vivid, turbulent era, making the past palpable and engaging while weaving a timeless tale of betrayal, resilience, and redemption. This blending of immersive historical context with emotionally resonant narrative ensures the film's place not only as a worthy adaptation, but also as a distinctive and memorable entry in the cultural legacy of The Count of Monte Cristo. It invites audiences to experience history and myth simultaneously, enriching their understanding and appreciation of a story that has captivated hearts and minds for generations. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, represents a fascinating case study in how a film with a substantial but carefully managed budget can translate literary grandeur into vivid cinematic reality without veering into extravagance or losing emotional depth. The production budget was allocated with precision, focusing on areas that would bring authenticity and immersion to the forefront. This meant investing heavily in period-accurate set construction, authentic costumes, and props that genuinely reflect the early 19th century French setting. The level of detail in the production design, from the damp, foreboding walls of Chateau d'If to the glittering ballrooms of Parisian high society, creates an immersive atmosphere that transports viewers directly into Edmond Dante's world. The filmmakers wisely chose practical effects and tangible locations over reliance on digital wizardry, lending a tactile realism to the environments that enhances the emotional weight of the story. This budget-conscious approach extends to the film's casting and crew. Securing a strong ensemble cast capable of nuanced performances was clearly a priority, and the resources allocated here pay off in the form of layered, compelling character portrayals. The director and cinematographer worked in tandem to maximize the visual storytelling, making smart choices with lighting, framing, and camera movement that complement the narrative without necessitating costly special effects. Even the film's score benefits from investment in quality musicianship, using orchestration to deepen the emotional resonance without overpowering the scenes. This balanced allocation of funds across departments creates a cohesive production where each element supports the others, resulting in a polished, sophisticated final product. From a financial perspective, the film's box office trajectory illustrates the challenges and opportunities faced by prestige literary adaptations in the current cinematic market. While The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, did not achieve blockbuster status in the vein of major franchises, it nonetheless performed solidly in territories with audiences attuned to historical dramas and classic literature. Domestic markets with strong art house and literary film followings provided a reliable base of support, as did international regions where Dumas' work has long been celebrated. The film's appeal to discerning viewers, those seeking substance, authenticity, and emotional complexity, ensured consistent attendance that translated into respectable box office returns. The marketing strategy for the film played a crucial role in shaping its commercial outcomes. Rather than emphasizing high-octane action or sensationalist elements, promotional materials highlighted the emotional and moral complexities of the story, the immersive period detail, and the powerhouse performances by the cast. Trailers showcased moments of intense drama, intrigue, and transformation, aiming to attract audiences who appreciate thoughtful cinema over spectacle. This approach helped carve out a specific niche audience, but likely limited the film's reach among viewers accustomed to faster-paced, effects-driven entertainment. Nevertheless, it fostered positive word-of-mouth within its target demographic, which bolstered box office endurance and contributed to the film's critical reputation. Internationally, the film found added success, particularly in markets with strong literary traditions or a taste for period pieces. European audiences, in particular, responded well to the film's dedication to historical accuracy and its nuanced portrayal of social and political upheaval. These overseas earnings helped supplement domestic receipts, reinforcing the film's overall financial viability and underscoring the global appeal of Dumas' narrative. The film's multilingual subtitles and dubbing options further widened its accessibility, enabling a diverse audience to engage with its rich storytelling. Post-theatrical revenue streams also played a significant role in the film's financial story. Streaming platforms and digital rentals became vital avenues for reaching viewers who either missed the theatrical window or prefer on-demand viewing. The film's strong narrative depth and visual quality made it a natural fit for home viewing, where audiences could appreciate its subtleties without the distractions of a crowded cinema. Additionally, sales of physical media like Blu-rays, especially collector's editions with bonus features exploring the film's historical context and production design, attracted enthusiasts and helped sustain interest long after the initial release. Critically, the film's reception influenced its financial trajectory. Positive reviews praising its performances, production values, and faithfulness to the source material encouraged more viewers to seek it out, while some critiques regarding pacing and accessibility tempered expectations for mass appeal. Still, the film's careful balancing act between art and commerce, history and drama, allowed it to carve out a lasting place in the marketplace, appealing to audiences who value depth and craftsmanship. In sum, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, is a testament to how thoughtful budgeting and targeted marketing can enable a film to honor a classic literary work while achieving commercial success on its own terms. The production's investment in authenticity and quality paid dividends in immersive storytelling, strong performances, and audience engagement. Financially, it navigated the challenges inherent in period dramas, leveraging niche appeal and international markets to build a respectable box office presence. Beyond its immediate earnings, the film's availability on digital platforms ensures its ongoing influence and accessibility, proving that well-made adaptations of timeless stories continue to find eager audiences in an ever-evolving cinematic landscape. The Count of Monte Cristo, 2024, offers audiences multiple ways to dive into its rich, dramatic world, catering to different viewing preferences and making it accessible whether you're a theater lover or a home cinema enthusiast. For those who want the fullest impact, the kind of experience that pulls you right into the lavish settings and emotional intensity, the theatrical release remains the gold standard. Catching the film on the big screen, especially in a theater equipped with state-of-the-art sound systems and high-definition projectors, allows you to fully appreciate the sweeping cinematography, intricate production design, and the nuanced performances. The scale and atmosphere of a cinema setting amplify every dramatic moment, from the claustrophobic tension of Edmund's imprisonment to the grandeur of his transformation into the Count, making it feel truly immersive and powerful. If catching the theatrical run isn't feasible, or if you prefer the comfort of your own space, The Count of Monte Cristo is widely available on digital platforms with excellent streaming and purchase options. Major services like Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and the Microsoft Store offer the film in high definition and even 4K quality. Renting the movie is a cost-effective way to experience the story in crisp detail, while purchasing it allows you to revisit the tale anytime you want. Watching in 4K, ideally with a good home theater setup including surround sound, helps preserve the visual richness and emotional depth, bringing the film's detailed period settings and evocative score into your living room with stunning clarity. For viewers looking for budget-friendly options, streaming platforms like Canopy and Hoopla provide access through participating libraries, meaning if you have a library card, you might be able to watch the film for free. This is a great way to enjoy the movie without any added cost, while still benefiting from decent streaming quality. While these services might not always offer 4K, the film's strong storytelling and production values still shine through. The flexibility of these viewing options means you can tailor your experience. Want to gather friends and family for a movie night? Watching the film together at home on a big screen or projector can create a shared experience that's just as engaging as the theater. Alternatively, for a solo or intimate viewing, streaming in a cozy setting allows for focused attention on the film's layered narrative, detailed performances, and the subtle symbolism embedded throughout. In all cases, to get the most out of the Count of Monte Cristo, paying attention to audiovisual quality really matters. The film's lush cinematography, delicate lighting, and sweeping orchestral score all work together to create an atmosphere that's both grand and intimate. Whether you choose a darkened theater or a home setup with dim lighting and good speakers, the sensory experience elevates the story, making the themes of betrayal, vengeance, and redemption hit home with full force. So, whether you're an old-school cinephile who savors the communal energy of theaters or a modern viewer who enjoys the flexibility of streaming, there's a way to experience the Count of Monte Cristo 2024 that fits your style. Each option offering its own unique way to connect with this timeless story brought vividly to life.